The Zifferans had seen many worlds, but none like this. From orbit, the planet glowed with strange colors. Emerald forests that stretched farther than their satellites could map, jagged mountains that pierced clouds like frozen lightning, and rivers that shimmered with an unusual metallic sheen. It was beautiful, yes, but there was something in its readings that unsettled them. Every sensor they sent detected impossible phenomena. Storms stronger than any known hurricane, predators larger than the tallest buildings in Zifferan cities, and a magnetic field that warped their instruments. Commander Vrylock, the leader of the Zifferan expedition, hovered over the glowing holographic map of the planet. His many eyes flicked across the readings. "It is unusual," he said to his officers, "but there is intelligence here, some form of life. We will investigate." His officers nodded, confident. They had conquered planets before. They had faced resistance before. This world, though dangerous, would be no different. They would claim it just like all the others. Probes were the first to descend, flying silently through the thick atmosphere. They sent back images of massive forests, rocky canyons, and strange creatures darting between trees. Nothing seemed civilized. Yet in the deepest forests, the sensors picked up footprints, large, upright, and human-like. Vrylock studied them closely. "These tracks, they are intelligent. They are watching us," the Zifforans murmured among themselves. Most of them felt excitement, but a few felt a cold shadow of fear. Commander Vrylock ignored it. "Fear is for the weak," he said. "We are strong. We are superior. This world will fall into our control." Days passed as the Zifferans continued their surveillance. The forest teemed with life. They saw massive predators hunting in packs, but none seemed aware of the probes. Yet every night their data showed strange signs. Broken branches crushed under enormous force. Rocks shifted as if something had moved them. Then, without warning, a probe vanished. One moment it was transmitting images. The next, silence. Vrylock frowned. "Malfunction?" he asked. But deep down, he feared the answer. By the third day, the Zifferans decided to send a landing team. They had armored suits, energy weapons, and scanners that could detect life from miles away. Confidence filled their ranks. The landing was smooth. The ground was firm beneath their feet, and the air, surprisingly breathable, carried a faint metallic taste. The first steps into the forest were thrilling. The trees were massive, roots twisting like living snakes, leaves so thick that sunlight barely touched the ground. Birds of enormous size flew overhead, their cries echoing like thunder. It was a hunter's paradise if you were a predator, thought Vrylock, but he did not know that here the hunters were unseen. In the shadows, the Deathworlders watched. They were humans, but not like the Zifferans had ever imagined. Their skin was tanned and tough from years under harsh suns. Their muscles were hard, their reflexes sharp, and their eyes could see in the dimmest light. They moved silently through the forest, blending with the trees, rocks, and undergrowth. The humans had always lived on this planet. It had tried to kill them from birth. Massive storms, poisonous plants, and terrifying predators were their teachers. They had learned to survive, and more than that, to thrive. Every human was strong, fast, and clever. They were the Deathworlders. The Zifforans moved confidently, unaware that the forest was alive with eyes. Their first step into a valley was met with a subtle shift in the ground. A branch snapped behind them, but when they turned, nothing was there. One officer raised a scanner. "Something is here. Life forms detected, but unusual readings." Before Vrylock could respond, another probe disappeared. Then another. The Zifferans began to feel uneasy. The forest was hiding something. Something intelligent. Something that wanted them gone. At night, the Zifforans gathered in their camp. The stars were bright above, but the forest was darker than expected. Sounds of creatures moving unseen echoed through the trees. Vrylock studied the readings on his screen. "Our sensors are not enough," he admitted quietly. "This planet, it has secrets. Something is stronger than we expected." In the shadows, the Deathworlders prepared. They had watched the aliens for days, learning their habits, noting their weapons, and studying their weaknesses. They did not fear the Zifforans. They had faced far greater threats: the predators, the storms, the unforgiving land, and survived. These aliens were just another challenge. As the wind howled through the twisted trees, the humans whispered to each other. They did not need loud voices or commands. They only needed to strike when the time was right. Soon the Zifforans would learn what it meant to tread where humans ruled. The forest waited. The Deathworlders waited. and the aliens, for the first time in their long history, felt fear. The Zifferans believed they were prepared, but the forest had other plans. Trees stretched high above them, roots twisted like living snakes, and shadows moved with a life of their own. Every step they took felt uncertain, as if the ground beneath them had a mind. Commander Vrylock led the first expedition team deeper into the jungle. His armored boots crushed leaves, but the forest seemed to swallow the sound. Strange cries echoed from the distance, some animal, some something else. Every few minutes a scanner would detect movement, but when the team turned, nothing was there. "Commander," one officer whispered, "we are not alone." Vrylock's multi-eyed gaze swept the area. "We expected resistance eventually," he said firmly. "We are Zifferans. Nothing here can stop us." The team pressed forward. They found a river glimmering with a strange light. On its banks they discovered massive footprints. They were upright, human-like, but larger and stronger than any human Vrylock had seen in records. He frowned. "These are no ordinary creatures. They are intelligent, and they are watching us." The first encounter happened when a scout, exploring ahead, vanished without a sound. The scanner showed a shadow crossing the path, but the camera caught nothing. Panic flickered across the Zifferans' faces. Vrylock clenched his claws. "Stay calm. They are hiding, that is all." But even he felt a twinge of unease. Night fell quickly. The Zifferans set up a small perimeter, their lights cutting through the dark but not far enough to see everything. That was when the first attack came. A twig snapped. A shadow darted from one tree to another, then another. The Zifferans fired energy bolts blindly into the darkness. Sparks hit trees, but there was no clear target. The forest echoed with silent laughter, low and haunting. The Deathworlders moved unseen. They were fast, silent, and coordinated. One leaped from a branch, disarming a trap. Another tripped a fallen log, sending it crashing into the Zifferan scouts. The humans were everywhere, yet nowhere. Every step of the aliens seemed anticipated, every movement countered. Commander Vrylock realized the truth. These are not animals. They are intelligent hunters, and they know this forest better than we know our ships. The next day, the Zifferans tried drones. Small hovering machines scanned the area, searching for life forms, but the forest rejected them. Drones toppled into rivers, stuck in roots, or vanished entirely, and in the distance, shadows moved. Humans observing, learning, planning. By mid-afternoon, the Zifferans had lost 3 scouts and 2 drones. Anxiety spread through the group. The forest, which had seemed merely dangerous, now felt alive. Vrylock called for a retreat to a safer clearing, but the humans had already set the stage for the next ambush. From the shadows, the Deathworlders struck again. They were unseen, using simple tools and traps adapted from the environment. Sharp rocks, heavy logs, and pit traps caused chaos. The Zifferans fired wildly, their energy weapons lighting up the trees, but each shot seemed predicted, each escape route blocked. The forest itself seemed to aid the humans. Birds squawked and flew in patterns that distracted the aliens. Predators roared in the distance, drawing attention away from the real threat. Every attempt to gain the upper hand failed. Vrylock realized something he had never considered. The Zifferans, with all their technology, were not the apex predators here. The humans, Deathworlders, were. They had survived on a planet that would have killed the Zifferans long before, and now they were testing the aliens. At night, the Zifferans huddled together, shaken. Their scanners detected movement everywhere, but they could not see anything clearly. Vrylock reviewed the footage from the missing scouts. Only brief shadows, quick movements, and hints of enormous strength appeared on the screens. "These humans," Vrylock muttered. "They are not like us. They are something else." Meanwhile, the Deathworlders watched silently from high in the trees. They spoke to each other in whispers, not words, but sharp gestures and glances. Every alien movement was noted. Every weapon was studied. They knew when to strike, when to hide, and when to let the Zifferans think they were in control. By the end of the second day, the Zifferans' confidence began to crumble. They had expected a minor challenge, maybe some clever tricks, but nothing like this. These humans were not afraid of them, nor the forest, nor the predators. They were born for this world, and every moment proved it. Vrylock stared into the darkness. "We are being watched," he said quietly, "and we are being judged. We may have underestimated this world, and its guardians." In the shadows, the Deathworlders waited. They were patient. They were cunning, and when the Xiferans stepped too far, they would remind them who truly ruled the death world. The forest waited. The humans waited, and the aliens, for the first time, realized that fear was now their companion. The Xiferans had hoped that retreating to safer ground would give them control. They were wrong. The forest had other plans, and the Deathworlders were ready. From the moment the sun rose, the humans began their silent war. They struck not with overwhelming force, but with precision. Branches snapped at the perfect moment to mislead the Xiferans. Rocks fell seemingly by accident, crushing drones and armored scouts. Every attack was calculated, every escape perfectly timed. Commander Vrylock watched from the edge of a clearing, his many eyes scanning the forest. "They are organized," he said, his voice tight. "These humans, they are not animals. They are soldiers of the forest itself." The Xiferans tried to regroup. They sent out patrols in small groups, expecting to corner the humans. Instead, they found traps, natural and unnatural. Sharp stakes hidden in shallow pits, ropes tied across paths, and rocks balanced to fall with a single touch. Every step was a danger, every shadow a threat. In the shadows above, the Deathworlders observed. They were everywhere, yet invisible. They moved like wind through the trees, silent and deadly. No technology, no alien weapons could match their understanding of this world. Every tactic the Xiferans tried had already been studied. Every weakness had been noted. By midday, the Xiferans had lost half of their landing team. Panic began to ripple through their ranks. Some wanted to flee back to their ships, but Vrylock refused. "We cannot retreat yet," he said. "We must understand them first. We cannot allow fear to defeat us." The Deathworlders, however, had already understood the Xiferans perfectly. They knew their weapons, their armor, and their movements. Using the forest, they manipulated the aliens' own confidence against them. A squad of Xiferans charging down a hill found themselves trapped between fallen trees and sudden pits. Another patrol walked straight into a river, where hidden currents swept their vehicles away. Even the drones were no match. The humans had studied them and used the forest's magnetic anomalies to disrupt signals. Drones spun out of control, crashing into the forest floor. Sparks lit the dark jungle, but no humans were seen. Vrylock began to realize the truth. "This forest," he whispered to his second in command, "it is alive. It is defending them, defending itself." The aliens tried communication, sending beams of light into the treetops, hoping to force the humans out into the open. But the humans never responded. They watched silently, waiting. Every Xiferan movement was countered with clever tricks. Logs toppled, nets hidden in vines, and rocks rolled down steep slopes at precise moments. As the hours passed, morale fell. The Xiferans, once proud and confident, began to doubt their superiority. They had fought other intelligent races before, but none had used their environment so perfectly. The humans were not just strong or fast, they were cunning, patient, and completely in their element. Commander Vrylock called a council under a rocky overhang. "We have underestimated them," he said grimly. "These humans are not to be taken lightly. Every attack they launch weakens us more. Every trap they set reminds us. We are outsiders here." The council agreed, though fear was clear in every officer's expression. Some suggested retreat, but Vrylock refused. They would not leave without knowing what they were up against. They would survive if they could, or die learning the limits of their strength. Meanwhile, the Deathworlders had already set the stage for their final demonstration of power. Hidden paths, sudden cliffs, and misleading tracks created a maze of danger for the Xiferans. And yet, despite the constant attacks, the humans never revealed their numbers. They were always just enough to strike fear, then disappear. By evening, the Xiferans were exhausted. Supplies were low, drones were destroyed, and every attempt to corner the humans failed. Vrylock realized something terrifying. These humans had never been conquered, never been afraid, and they thrived in situations that would have broken any other species. From high in the trees, the Deathworlders watched as the aliens argued and planned. They communicated without words, only with gestures and shared understanding. To them, the Xiferans' confusion was amusing. Every step the aliens took played into the humans' hands. Every attack was a lesson in patience and strategy. That night, the Xiferans camped in tight circles, their weapons ready, but their confidence gone. The forest around them was alive with unseen eyes, shadows moving just beyond the light of their lamps. Commander Vrylock stared into the darkness, understanding for the first time the true power of the Deathworlders. "These humans," he whispered. "They are not just survivors. They are predators, and we are prey." And in the shadows, the Deathworlders waited, patient as the jungle itself. They would strike again, and when they did, the Xiferans would understand fully why no outsider could survive the Deathworld. The forest waited. The humans waited, and the aliens, for the first time, were truly afraid. The Xiferans had learned fear, and fear had changed them. They no longer moved with confidence, no longer trusted their technology to protect them. Every shadow, every whisper of wind through the trees made them jump. Commander Vrylock had never imagined this. No other species had challenged them like this. By the third day of the Forest War, the Xiferans began to realize they were not facing ordinary humans. They had thought these beings would flee or negotiate, as most species did when threatened. Instead, the humans struck with precision, disappeared without a trace, and left the Xiferans questioning every move. One scout, captured by a clever trap, revealed the humans' abilities. He described their strength, speed, and reflexes, beyond what Xiferan biology could comprehend. "They are perfect hunters," the scout stammered. "They live for this world. They know every rock, every tree, every shadow. We cannot fight them in open space. We cannot fight them in the forest. We are weak here." Vrylock's eyes narrowed. He studied the scout's report and the footage from destroyed drones. "It is true," he said grimly. "We face a species that is not only intelligent, but evolved for this planet. Every human we meet is stronger, faster, and more cunning than we expected." The Xiferans tried regrouping near a high plateau, hoping the elevation would give them an advantage. From there they could see the vast forest, rivers twisting through valleys and mountains piercing the clouds. But even here the Deathworlders controlled the land. Hidden paths, false trails, and sudden rock slides made every move dangerous. The humans began to attack with strategy beyond brute force. They struck supply lines, ambushed small patrols, and disappeared before the Xiferans could respond. The aliens' energy weapons, so powerful in open battle, were almost useless against an enemy who moved like a shadow and used the forest itself as a weapon. Vrylock realized the full scope of the challenge. "These humans do not fear death," he said quietly. "They embrace danger. They thrive where we fail. They are something more than we imagined." A captured drone revealed something more. Onboard sensors had picked up human patrols moving silently through the trees. But the data also showed something strange. Humans working together without spoken words, coordinated as if they shared one mind. Every ambush, every trap, every attack had a plan. It was not chaos, it was perfect strategy. Vrylock called another council. His officers were pale and exhausted. "We have underestimated them," he said. "Every attack they launch weakens us. Every trap they set reminds us that we do not belong here. We have come to a world we cannot control." Some officers argued for retreat, but Vrylock refused. "We came to learn. If we leave now, we admit defeat without knowing the limits of their power. We will survive if we can, and we will understand them fully, but we must be cautious. One mistake will cost us everything." The humans watching from the shadows had already studied the Xiferans' behavior. They knew the aliens' weaknesses and strengths. They knew when to strike and when to hide. They understood the aliens better than the aliens understood themselves. One human, taller and stronger than the rest, crouched on a branch high above the alien camp. He signaled to the others, and they moved as one silently. The plan was simple: teach the Xiferans a lesson they would never forget. By the next morning, the humans had begun their new attack. Hidden paths guided the Xiferans into traps. Logs rolled down hills, crashing into armored vehicles. Rivers, deep and fast, swept away patrols. From above, rocks fell without warning. The forest itself seemed to rise against the aliens. Vrylock watched the chaos unfold. His heart, if he still had one in the way humans had, would have pounded. He realized fully that these were not humans as they knew them. These were humans shaped by a world that demanded strength, courage, and intelligence beyond imagination. The Deathworlders were masters of survival, hunters who used everything around them to gain the advantage. The forest was not just home. It was a weapon, a shield, and a teacher. Every Xiferan attack taught them more about the human's strategy, yet every lesson came at a cost. By evening, the Xiferans had lost more than half of their remaining forces. Fear had replaced confidence. They were no longer explorers, they were intruders. And the humans, always unseen, had proven that no matter how strong or advanced the aliens were, they could not dominate this world. Vrylock made a decision. We will continue. We must survive and learn, but we fight differently now. We fight as if every tree hides an enemy. Every shadow is a trap, and every moment could be our last. We will adapt or we will die here. In the shadows, the humans watched and waited. Their patience was endless, their skill unmatched. They did not celebrate victories. They prepared for the next challenge. They knew the aliens would learn slowly, painfully, the true power of the Deathworlders. The forest whispered in the wind. The humans were everywhere, and the Xiferans for the first time understood the true meaning of fear. The Xiferans had fought for days, but the forest had become a nightmare they could not escape. Every step forward was a trap, every shadow hid a threat. Commander Vrylock had realized too late that this was not a war they could win with technology or strength alone. The humans of this death world were something entirely different. The sun rose, burning through misty clouds, casting long shadows across the jagged terrain. Vrylock gathered his remaining forces in a narrow valley, hoping the high cliffs would give them an advantage. They were exhausted, low on supplies, and demoralized. Even the most confident officers kept glancing nervously into the trees, expecting ambushes at any moment. But the humans were ready. They had watched the Xiferans for days, learning every habit, every weakness. Now it was time to finish the lesson. From high branches and hidden ridges, the Deathworlders observed silently. Their muscles coiled like springs. They did not shout. They did not signal. They simply waited. The first attack came without warning. A massive log crashed down from the cliffs, smashing into the alien scouts. Energy blasts flew blindly into the trees, but no humans were in sight. Birds and animals, manipulated by the humans, created chaos and drew attention away from the real threats. Every movement the Xiferans made played into the Deathworlders' plan. Vrylock ordered his forces to form defensive positions. "Do not advance!" he shouted. "Hold your ground. We cannot let them surround us." But it was already too late. From every hidden path humans appeared, striking quickly, then vanishing before the aliens could respond. The battle was unlike anything the Xiferans had faced. No leader could predict the humans' next move. Rocks rolled, rivers surged, and the forest itself seemed to fight alongside the humans. Even the alien drones were neutralized, either destroyed by traps or jammed by magnetic fields in the terrain. The humans attacked in perfect coordination. One group forced the Xiferans into narrow canyons where falling rocks blocked escape. Another set traps that disabled vehicles and equipment. Yet another group struck from above, dropping heavy branches and logs onto the alien formations. Each strike was precise, calculated, and deadly. But without cruelty, they were teaching a lesson, not seeking unnecessary death. Vrylock realized fully that these humans were not just survivors. They were masters of this world. Each one had been forged by the harshness of the death world, hardened into warriors by storms, predators, and impossible landscapes. They were fast, strong, clever, and fearless. Every moment they fought reminded the Xiferans of their own limitations. Desperation filled the alien ranks. Their once powerful energy weapons were ineffective against a foe that disappeared into the shadows as quickly as it appeared. Their shields, strong in open combat, offered no protection against attacks from above, below, or the sides. Every strategy they tried failed. In a final attempt, Vrylock led a direct assault toward the highest ridge, hoping to find the humans' base. As they climbed, logs and rocks tumbled down, cutting off their path. From the trees, the Deathworlders moved silently, appearing at the perfect moment to block escape routes and force the Xiferans into retreat. The aliens stumbled and fell, exhausted and defeated. Vrylock realized the truth. They were not invaders, they were intruders. The Deathworld did not belong to them. It belonged to the humans who had survived, thrived, and mastered every danger it held. Vrylock raised a claw in surrender. We are defeated," he admitted. "This planet is not ours. We cannot conquer it." The remaining Xiferans fell silent, their confidence shattered. The Deathworlders appeared at the edge of the clearing. They did not speak. They did not cheer. They simply stood, silent and imposing, watching the aliens retreat. Their presence was enough. The forest had been their ally, their weapon and their shield. But the humans were the true power of this world. Rylock and his forces retreated to their ships, shaken and humbled. They left behind equipment, drones, and the illusion of control. The message was clear. This world was not to be taken lightly, and these humans born of the Death World were unstoppable. From the shadows, the humans watched until the last ship vanished beyond the clouds. Then they disappeared, melting back into the forest, unseen and unchallenged. They did not celebrate. Survival had always been their way, and every day was a lesson in patience, strength, and cunning. Legends would spread among the Zephorans. They would speak of a world where humans ruled, where the forests fought alongside their masters, and where no technology could match the skill and courage of those forged by a death world. The Deathworlders returned to the high cliffs and dense forests, guardians of a planet that had made them strong. They were humans, yes, but more than humans, they were predators. Warriors and survivors shaped by danger and perfected by the harshness of life itself. And the galaxy learned a lesson that day. Never underestimate humans, for even the most advanced species could not conquer those born of a death world. The forest whispered in the wind. The humans waited silently in the shadows. And the Zephorans, far away in space, carried fear that would never leave them. The death world had won. Humanity had triumphed.